and welcome to Chevening's Facebook Q&A session. We hope wherever you are in the world that you're well, and it's just a massive hello from us. We are sat in sunny London and we are going to take you through some questions and information that we hope you will find useful.
Yeah. My name's Catherine. I work on the international team here at the Chevening Secretariat, and I work specifically supporting the success of Chevening in East Africa and Southeast Asia.
And I'm Susie and I work in the Programme Officer UK team. So there's a team of 16 of us and we contact successful applicants in June next year. And every successful scholar is allocated their own PO, so Programme Officer, and throughout the year we will be in constant contact with you and arrange events to showcase the UK and also be your point of contact, so we will visit you as well at your respective university. So what is Chevening? So Chevening is the UK government's flagship scholarship scheme. It's an opportunity for international students to study a one-year master's at any UK university. You don't have to worry about your course fees because Chevening covers your tuition fees. We cover your flights to and from the UK. We also give you an arrival allowance and a departure allowance, but we also give you a monthly stipend. So out of that monthly stipend, you have to pay for your living expenses, which includes accommodation.
Yeah, and at the minute we are in the Chevening application period, which means applications are open and already being submitted from applicants around the world. That's open from the 5th of August until the 5th of November. So we're busy at the moment promoting and giving Q&As like this to make sure that everybody has all the information they need to apply. Once applications close on the 5th of November, all of the applications are assessed by a reading committee who assess them and make a short list. Shortlisted applicants will be invited to an interview in person at their British Embassy or High Commission, wherever that is around the world, between March and May. So we have kind of 2 months of interviews for the shortlisted applicants, and then the ones who've been very, very successful in their interview will probably hear from us in June to find out that they've been successfully selected for a Chevening scholarship. So that's just a bit of an overview of the application cycle.
Just to add, another thing about Chevening is that you will join a network of over 50,000 alumni, and also a bit about the events that we put on. So it's not just academic events. You can be canoeing down a river with other scholars. We put on well-being events. We put on academic lectures, but we have so many events throughout the year, and we hope that once you get selected that you'll be interested in a lot of them.
Yeah, sorry. It's all right. No, good to have an interruption.
So today it's going to be 45 minutes long, and we will ask if you have questions that you please check our website. Our website is new and it has a wealth of information on there. So hopefully with the new website you'll find it easier to find the information that you need. But if you don't, please comment on the Facebook post with your question. Please only ask once, because there's us two here today for the next 45 minutes. We will be trying to answer your questions, but also we have a team behind the scenes who will be answering your questions as well. So please only ask questions once.
And just because I know it's a very common question, before we get into the more specific questions that you might have about particular parts of the scheme, I'm just going to give a quick overview of the eligibility criteria. This is all on the website, but the general Chevening eligibility criteria is that you must be a citizen of a Chevening eligible country or territory. We operate in over 160 countries and territories around the world, so check online to see if you're a citizen of one of those eligible countries, and you must agree to return to that country for a minimum of 2 years after completing your scholarship. The second kind of key eligibility criteria is that you must have completed an undergraduate degree that will enable you to gain entry to a postgraduate course here in the UK. So So make sure that you've kind of got the previous studies to get you into a UK course. On top of your academic background, we ask that you have at least 2 years of work experience. And finally, we ask that you haven't previously studied in the UK through a UK government scholarship. There are other criteria which we'll touch on today, but those are kind of the key Chevening eligibility criteria. So do have a look at that before you think of asking those questions, because we're trying today to kind of get to the nitty-gritty questions that maybe you haven't found the answers to on the website.
Okay, so we're going to start with some questions that we've already received. Number one, is there an age limit for applying to Chevening? And the answer is no. As long as you have the work experience required and also your undergraduate degree, there is no age limit. So please apply, whatever age you are, please apply.
Yeah, definitely. Another question that we have received, this one's from Paula. Hi, Paula. She's asked, how many times can I apply? So in each application cycle, you can make one application, and that's really important, just one application. Please don't withdraw your application and think you'll be able to submit a second time in this cycle, because the system won't let you do that. So one application per cycle. However, in terms of future cycles, you can apply as many times as you want. So if you're not successful this year, please do consider applying again in the future, because there's no limit on the number of applications you make moving forward in different cycles.
So another question, when do I need to submit my English language results by? So by this point, you will have been contacted by a Programme Officer UK, who will be your Programme Officer during your award. Now, the deadline for submitting your English language results is the 16th of July 2020 at 1700 hours British Summer Time. So your PO that you'll be allocated, depending on the university that you are attending, will be in constant liaison with you and remind you of this date. So please don't worry, but do ensure that you have the certificate of your English language result by the 16th of July at 1700 hours. There is no flexibility with that date, so please ensure, because they are all valid for 2 years. So if you can take it now, if you haven't already, please do, and have it so that you don't have a last minute rush.
That's a really good question, actually, because some people think they have to have their English language certificate ready to submit their application. You don't need it for the 5th of November when you're submitting your application. However, do be conscious that that 16th of July 2020 deadline will creep up. And so you really want to be thinking about getting that English language certificate as soon as possible, to make sure that when you are successful and offered an award, you're able to fulfill all of the requirements. So good question.
So there's one coming in on the Facebook stream. Can we apply to a university that is not a Chevening partner? Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I can do. So this is from Vita. Hi. Yeah, so Chevening does have lots of university partners. You can find out more information about those on the website, but you don't have to choose a Chevening partner for your application. You can apply to any eligible course at any eligible university. And there's no priority given to applicants who choose partner universities. The most successful applicants, the most successful applications and interviews will be the people who are chosen, no matter what university or course they choose. However, applying for a Chevening partnership university does give you some additional benefits when you're here on award. Not financial benefits. The value of the scholarship is the same in terms of the finance you receive, but you will be invited to additional events, asked to engage in additional activities. As Susie was saying, they put on lots of activities. Partner universities will include you in their materials and their promotions, and you'll become part of a network within that partner university. So it's definitely something worth considering. Have a look on the website for the partner universities and some more information about what those partnerships mean.
So a question from Salma. I am a dentist, but I want to transition into nutrition. Can I still get a Chevening scholarship? So I actually studied nutrition at university, and it's great. So go for it. The answer is yes, you can, as long as you address your career change in your application thoroughly, and also at interview. So go for it. Nutrition's great.
Yeah, we see that quite a lot. People kind of making career changes through achieving scholarship. But as Susie said, like, give some reasons. Yeah, explain why you want to make this change and what, you know, that's going to enable you to contribute to society in the future.
Okay, another one. How are scholars selected? Is it based on perfectly written essays or the answers during the interview? Catherine, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of both. We receive lots and lots of applications, and so the application process is quite rigorous. I guess the small answer is you'll first be assessed on your essay questions. So the first step that you need to kind of get through is to write really strong, really great essay responses to the questions. And they're kind of based on the 4 Chevening criteria, which is leadership, networking, studying in the UK, and your career plan. So there's kind of assessment 1, where the reading committee will look at your essay answers and review how well they think you've responded to them, and then shortlist you. If after that process you're shortlisted to an interview, then the panel that interview you are going to be listening to your verbal answers in the interview alongside your responses on your original application and kind of all the other evidence that you've submitted, your references, your previous academic background. So I guess an answer to your question is both. Both the assessment that you submit with the essay questions and your answers at interview will be assessed to consider who gets the application.
Okay, so another question that was previously submitted is it possible to get professional experience during or after the master's course in the UK? So we ask that your priority is to study in the UK. That should be your primary focus. Your studies, a master's is hard and time consuming, so focus on that. But you are able to undertake part-time work, but you do have to check the restrictions on your Tier 4 visa. Now, the university that you go to are your Tier 4 visa sponsors, so if you have any questions, please do either ask them or our welfare and immigration team, who will be able to answer your questions. But this would be something, you can only access the services of our welfare and immigration team once you had submitted a signed client care letter, and that is once you have been selected as a scholar. So that's further down the line in June 2020.
Right, so we've got another question coming in off the Facebook live stream. Do I need to submit proof of my work experience? So whoever's asking this, have a look at the application process. There's a section that asks for your work experience, and yeah, it's going to ask for like the company name, the job title, and the hours that you worked there. In terms of physical proof to back that up, at that stage you don't need to submit anything additionally. However, you do need to submit 2 references. Have a look on the website to see kind of the kind of people we like to see as your referees. They don't necessarily need to both be employment based, but if you're successfully asked to interview, the panel will be looking into your references. So you do want to think about 2 people that will show off the best parts of you in your application, and one of those is probably going to be your most recent employer. So I guess in a roundabout way, your references act as a proof of your employment. But definitely have a look at the application system in the work experience section to get a good understanding of exactly what we need to see regarding your work experience.
And another question, should we have a letter of acceptance first from the university before applying to Chevening? So many of you have asked that question. The answer is no, but you do have to apply separately to the university to the course that you wish to study, and we ask that you do it as early as possible. Once you put your 3 choices down in your application form, those are your 3 choices that cannot be amended unless you discuss them at interview. So once a programme officer sends you, if you're selected, sends you a conditionally selected pack and you have those 3 choices listed on the on the pack, you cannot change them. So if you don't receive any unconditional offers, then your Chevening Award will be withdrawn. So we ask that you apply now, so that you know that you have at least one unconditional offer from your 3 choices, just to avoid future disappointment.
Yeah, definitely. Great. We've got a question from Antonella from Ecuador. Hello, hola. She's asked, do I have to upload transcripts or my degree certificate, and do these need to be translated to English? So to answer that, you need to upload your degree certificates, but on that section of the website, there is the opportunity to upload more than one document. So if you have a transcript, why not upload it as well? There's the opportunity to upload more than one file. What we ask for definitely though is your transcripts. For Chevening, these don't need to be translated to English. However, you definitely want to check with the university that you're planning on applying to about how they want to receive your transcripts or your certificates, because you have to submit your application for the Chevening Scholarship, and then separately you need to apply for your 3 chosen university courses. And sometimes the requirements of the offices, the admissions offices at the universities, are a little bit different to what Chevening ask. So we really do encourage you, have a look at our criteria and put your application in. For that, you don't need to translate your certificates, but check with the admissions officer at the university you want to apply to whether or not they're going to need a translation as well.
And to add to that, and this information is on the website, with English language as well, a university might have a different requirement to Chevening's requirements. You have to meet both. If, say, the university requirements are lower than Chevening's, you have to meet Chevening's in order to proceed with confirming your award down the line.
Right, we've just been told we've got 30 minutes to go, so please do get your questions in. We want to answer as many as possible. We've just had one in from Fader. He's asked, do I need to submit a biography / references when I submit my application? The answer is no. For the application, what you do need to submit is the name and contact details of your 2 referees. Okay, so you do need to know who is going to be writing you a reference and what their job title is and their contact details. That you need to submit with your application. The actual reference, so the reference that this person has given you as a testament to your character, will only ask for if you're successfully shortlisted to interview. So for your application, you don't need to upload the reference. You just need the contact details and the name of who your referee is going to be. Hope that answers your question.
So there is another question. Do we apply just on the university portal or just on the Chevening portal? So the answer is both. So please, as I say, please apply to both. Do you like the next question?
Okay, yeah, sure. Alseni has asked, I'm currently in China, but I'm a citizen of another country. Can I do my interview here? The answer is no. You have to be interviewed in the country that or the territory that is going to be giving your Chevening Award. This is because the British Embassy or High Commission that's responsible for selecting candidates want to meet you in person. The Embassy or High Commission in another country isn't responsible for choosing those successful applicants. So wherever the country that you're applying, that you're a national of or a citizen of, you'll need to return there and have your interview in person at that embassy or High Commission. But yeah, good answer. Good question even.
And so that kind of naturally goes on and follows through to a question by Sancho. If you could answer this.
Okay, yeah.
How many scholarships are usually available in my country?
Yeah, so Sancho, that's a very good question that's asked often. Unfortunately, the answer is I can't actually tell you specifically because those numbers are decided later in the year and they're actually decided by the UK government's Foreign and Commonwealth Office. So we don't have a number kind of set in stone for each country. If you wanted to, you could have a look at the UK and the name of your country, so that's like the British Embassy or High Commission social media channels, and have a look at how many scholarships were awarded last year as an indicator of perhaps how many will be awarded this year. However, these numbers do change. We see them go up and down, depending on a variety of factors. So there's no like set in stone number of how many scholarships will be allocated for each country. So I'm sorry, Sancho, for a vague answer, but yeah, make the strongest application possible so that you're going to be at the top of the list within your country is my advice to you.
And another question coming in on the Facebook comments. What types of work experience are accepted, and can I list an internship in my application? Catherine, as the international team,
yeah.
Answer that for me, please?
It's a good question. So yeah, there's a variety of different types of work experience that are considered eligible. Volunteer jobs, internships, or paid work, temporary work, freelance work. The kind of extensive list is available on the website, but an internship is eligible. The kind of only exception there is if your internship or your voluntary work was a compulsory part of your degree, so you needed to complete that to be awarded your undergraduate degree or your master's, then that isn't eligible. It kind of needs to be work experience that you've had outside of your academic career. So for kind of the extensive list, I'd say have a look on the website, search Chevening work experience, and they'll show you all the different types of jobs that are eligible.
And another question that's come up on Instagram, hi to our Instagram followers, what grades do I need to have achieved in my undergraduate degree in order to receive a scholarship?
Oh, you're just sending them all to me. It's another question that we get quite a lot. So Chevening asks that you have an undergraduate degree that would get you into a postgraduate degree at a UK university, and advises that that's typically a 2-1 in the UK system. So that's kind of the Chevening eligibility requirement. In terms of the specific grade, what you want to do is contact the university admissions office and see what they're asking for you, of you, because different courses at different universities ask for different grades. So for the Chevening requirement, it's an undergraduate degree that's typically a 2-1, but do contact the university admissions offices directly for them to kind of review your degrees and transcripts and tell you what they'd need from you for you to be eligible for one of their courses. Okay. So we've got another question from Instagram, I think, and it says, I applied last year but wasn't selected. Can I use the same references and essays? In terms of can you, the answer is yes, you can. But I would say that if you weren't successful last year, I would be reviewing the eligibility criteria on the website, having a look at all the Facebook groups that have advice to candidates. We've got some really, really great members of our alumni community giving top tips about what makes a strong application. We've got interviews with embassies and high commissions around the world telling what they think is going to make a really strong application. And I'd go back to your original application and see how you can improve it. If it wasn't successful last year, Chevening is really competitive. I'd say, like, unfortunately, if you submitted it again, perhaps it still wouldn't meet those competitive standards to make you successful this year. So yes, you can submit the same references and essay questions, but I'd really be considering how you can improve on those to make yourself a stronger applicant this time around.
So more questions have come in. Thank you very much. What if my referees do not speak English? And that's come from Adrieli.
So your referee reference will need to be translated into English, and you need to have a look at the website to see the exact formatting requirements for those translations. If it needs to be on headed paper, if it needs to be notarized, all the specific requirements of the translation are available on the website. So I don't know if you've actually said, the website is www.chevening.org. At the top, there's a search bar. If you put in Chevening references, there's really great kind of information about what the reference needs to contain to make sure that it's kind of meets the requirements. And I think I have to read out that Viton says #SusieBestPO.
Oh, thanks.
So if you're going to make a team of
wherever you are in the world, hopefully in your home country. Hi, and I hope you're well. And yeah, I miss you all. I I do remember you all. So I hope whatever you're doing, that you're being successful and happy.
So yeah, so you've just made a team of 15 or 16 program officers very jealous, Veton, by saying Susie was the best program officer.
It's obviously true, but you know.
Right.
So back to questions. Can I apply in the last year of my undergraduate degree? That's obviously a no.
So no. So the eligibility requirements are that you have your undergraduate degree at the moment of submitting your application. So if you haven't yet completed it, don't apply this year. Wait till next year when you've got your degree, you've got your final results, and make your application really strong next year. If you're in your final year now and you're not going to have your degree, the moment that you press submit on the application form, then you won't be considered eligible for the Achieving Scholarship. So see you next year.
So just to recap, we are here live for the next 20 minutes. So if you have any questions that you can't find the answer to on our website, which has loads of information, please do write in the comment section or watch us on Instagram as well. We are here, Catherine and I, answering questions live, but also we have a team behind the scenes that are hopefully answering questions for you.
I think this one might be quite good from Lena and others. So I think more than one person has asked this. Lena's asked, is this year's way of submitting references different to last year? And if so, how? So hi Lena. Yeah, it is a little bit different. Last year on our system, we contacted referees on your behalf and asked them to send their reference to us. So you would put in, I don't know, your current employer. Chevening would contact them and they'd submit the reference. This year, what we're asking is for you at this stage just to put in the name and the job title and the contact details of that referee. And then if you're successfully selected to interview, we'll ask you to submit the references. So that's a slight change there. We won't be contacting your referee. You'll be responsible for providing the references. So yeah, thanks for that question, Lena.
A question has come in on Facebook. Alseni, sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. How much is the monthly stipend? So this year it depends on where you study in the UK. London-based universities for this year, so for 2019-2020, are receiving £1,363 a month.
Not bad.
To be specific. And outside of the of London, scholars are receiving £1,103. So this might increase next year due to inflation, but you would be that would be confirmed when you got your conditional offer in June next year.
I guess like a good point to add is that it's calculated to be enough for you to pay your rent and buy food and travel and live, you know, as you would need to, depending on the cost of living in the city that you choose. Yeah. So it's sufficient to cover all of your living expenses.
So also to add to that, as I said earlier, that we give you an arrival allowance just to offset any costs of buying an umbrella, because it does rain a lot in the UK, and waterproof clothing and anything like that, buying new things to settle in the UK. So you will receive an arrival allowance and also departure allowance when you come to leave the UK, and that's to offset any costs with sending your belongings home, etc. But also if you do study outside of London, you will also get a travel top-up allowance depending on where you are, because we have two mandatory events in the year, an orientation event which is happening in a few weeks for the current cohort, and then a farewell event, and we offer you travel costs because obviously it is mandatory, so we want to offset the costs of that as well. So for example, in Scotland you'll receive this year £189 for those two events.
Yeah, great. So we've got some more questions coming in from the internet. One is, if I already have a scholarship to cover some of my tuition fees, can I still get Achieving Scholarship? The answer is yes. It's quite common here in the UK that universities will offer small kind of scholarships to cover parts of tuition fees for outstanding applications. What I would say is there is a cap and some restrictions on that. So have a look on the website in the terms and conditions to see kind of what the cap is, because if you were to receive a really significant amount of money from a different funding source, then Chevening might evaluate how much of the stipend you received or the tuition fees. But that's really clearly outlined in the terms and conditions for scholars on the website. So I recommend you have a look at those, because it gets quite specific depending on where the funding's come from and what the kind of restrictions are for you to take that scholarship funding.
I'll just add, if you do, some universities do offer other scholarships, and we do ask that you do tell them that you are going to be a Chevening Scholar, and they might allocate it to another scholar, so that you're not receiving it all, because we do cover your full tuition fees unless you're an MBA. So in that case, sometimes a scholar can get an additional scholarship from the university to cover the fees that they are personally responsible for. But otherwise, we ask that you don't take university scholarship, because we do pay your fees. So make it fair and kind of give it to someone else that might not have a Chevening scholarship.
Great. We've got another question coming in from Alejandro. He's asked, I've heard that there are thematic priorities for each country. Will I have a better chance if I address these in my application? Good question. So the thematic priorities that Alejandro is referring to, I imagine, are the British government and foreign office's kind of thematic objectives within the different countries around the world. The answer is, I guess, no. The Chevening applications that are strongest, that stand out, will be the ones that are selected, and the best people who perform at interview will really stand out. With a caveat to that, the career plan kind of criteria that Chevening is assessed on is really looking at how your career plan is going to make a positive contribution to your home country when you return at the end of your award. So if you're able to link the kind of objectives that you have as an individual to what you want to achieve in the future, in the next 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, when you go on to become the next global leader or a World Health Organization leader, or, you know, whatever it is that you go on to do, you do want to be trying to link those to positive contributions in your country. So don't obsess on the thematic priorities of the country, but do think about your individual career plan and the contribution that you want to make, and the positive contribution you want to make on a wider scale when you return home. Hope that answers your question.
Which it kind of naturally leads into Aylin's question on Instagram. So does choosing a particular course give you a better chance of being selected for a Chevening scholarship? So the answer is no. The answer is no. When program officers receive the 120 to 150 scholars that we are responsible for each, there are so many varieties of courses that scholars study, so it does not matter. As long as you have a strong application and you have
I think that's the important thing. Like, rather than think about the topic of the course in that this course is better than this course, you have to demonstrate why that course is going to enable you to move forward and achieve great things. So that could be any course, depending on what your career plan is. Your application, if it successfully demonstrates how you've got a plan to network, to be a leader, to move forward and achieve something great, no matter what the subject area is, that application is going to stand out during the application period. So don't focus so much on the course and more about what you're going to do with those studies to achieve something great.
And another question's come in. If I am willing to pay for a pre-sessional course, can I still receive a Chevening scholarship, e.g. English language? Now, we do not accept an unconditional offer if it has a pre-sessional element to it. The only way that we accept a conditional offer is if there is a financial element attached, so a tuition fee deposit, say. But we do not accept pre-sessionals, so there is no flexibility with that. You have to meet our English language requirement but also have an unconditional offer from the university that does not have a pre-sessional. So please do not on the last day submit an unconditional with a pre-sessional, because it will not be accepted.
No, really important that you look into the English language requirements for Chevening, the English language requirements for your course. Look in your home country where the test centres are, how many dates a year are available, how much it costs today, and have that plan with the July 16th English language deadline in mind, so that you're really ahead of yourself and able to meet that deadline of July 16th. Start thinking about the English language requirements today rather than in June, because it would be awful to be offered a Chevening scholarship but not meet the English language requirement.
Because as I said before, an IELTS certificate is valid for 2 years. So please look into it now, as Catherine said, because the availability of test centres might not be, there might not be availability when you're contacted by a programme officer with your conditional pack. So please be organised and do it now if you can, or study and do it as soon as possible, because, as Catherine says, you don't want to be offered a Chevening scholarship and then not meet that 16th of July deadline and then have it withdrawn, because that would be really disappointing. So please, please look now and have that in place. We do also accept more than IELTS certificates, and all the English language tests that we do accept are clearly listed on the website. Sorry.
Great. We've got a question from Gaon. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Am I eligible if I've been previously sponsored by the Commonwealth Scholarship? So the Commonwealth Scholarship is another kind of British government-funded education fund. Just to bring us back to the eligibility criteria, you're not eligible for a Chevening Award if you've studied in the UK with UK government funding. So if your Commonwealth Scholarship was received to studying in another country, not the UK, then you're still eligible. But if your Commonwealth Scholarship brought you to study in the UK, then unfortunately, you're not eligible for further UK government funding. You wouldn't be eligible for Chevening. So it's just whether or not your Commonwealth Scholarship was studied outside of the UK or in the UK.
Okay, so we've had the top question before. So if I applied before, will my previous application be taken into consideration? So you have covered this already in the live feed, but would you like to just quickly explain again?
So you can apply as many times as you want, and your previous application won't be taken into consideration. That's no longer in our systems or
previous years.
Previous years applications. If you apply this cycle once, withdraw your application and try to apply again, you won't be able to do that on the system. So make sure it's one application this cycle. If you make it to interview and you previously made it to interview, there's a small chance that somebody who was on your first interview panel will be on your second interview panel. So maybe they'll have some memories of your answers, but no, your previous year's applications are not considered for future applications.
Okay, so another question on the Facebook Live. If I already have a master's degree, can I apply for a Chevening scholarship? So who wants to answer that? Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have already got a master's degree, yes, you can. But obviously, your application would have to explain why you're wanting to study another one. And you also have to make sure that you haven't been in the UK for a Tier 4 visa. Please read up about getting a visa so that you meet that requirement. As I say, the university, if you ask the university, because they would be your Tier 4 visa sponsors, please contact them for any questions on immigration. But you would be allowed, but you'd have to have a strong reason why you'd want to study another master's.
Yeah.
Is there anything you
want
to add?
No, that's great. She did a good job. Right, we've just had another question come in. If I've been previously longlisted but not shortlisted, what was the reason? Well, I'm afraid I don't know. I didn't read your application. But Chevening's really competitive, I guess, is the best thing we can say. Last year we received over 50,000 applications. So really standout applicants who are really clear about why they deserve the scholarship and what they're going to do with it are the ones who are selected. And I'd say, again, I think I mentioned there's so many resources on the Chevening website, on our YouTube channels, on the different British Embassy and High Commission pages, that will tell you and explain to you what the applications are looking for and what a good Chevening application looks like. So have a look at that, have a look at the criteria, have a look at the type of strong answers that people are looking for, and compare it to your original application and just see where you can make those improvements. I think Susie mentioned the Chevening Alumni Network. That's global. Have a look for some Chevening alumni and the kind of things that they're doing, the kind of things that they mention about Chevening, and think about how you could link, you know, those kind of objectives and ambitions to your own personal objectives and career plans. Yeah.
So Stephanie asks, is the Chevening scholarship full or partial? What will an applicant need to pay for in terms of language tests, travel to interview, uni application fees, etc.? And normally a Chevening scholarship is fully funded. So as we said earlier, the tuition fees, Chevening pay 100% of your fees. You'll get a monthly stipend, which you are expected to use your to pay for your living expenses for that month. Obviously, if you have your own money, you're able to top that up. But we do ask that you pay yourself for applying to university, for travelling to get your IELTS or English language test. There are a few exceptions, and you would be told that at interview. Would it be?
Yeah, it's anything that's related to, like, when you're successfully selected and you're here, Chevening will pay for. Getting to that point, meeting the eligibility criteria, whether that's English language or having an unconditional offer, all the stuff that comes before you're successfully selected, we do ask you to pay for. So English language and applying to universities. Yeah. But if you're selected, all of the costs associated to being a student in the UK are covered by Chevening.
And just to add, with tuition fees, unless it's an MBA.
Yeah, good point.
So please do look into that.
Yeah.
And we're going to have one last question. What do I do first? Apply for Chevening or apply to my university? So, as we said, on your application, you put 3 choices down, and unless you discuss at interview a change in that, and the interview panel accept that, you have to stick with your 3 choices. You cannot have a 4th choice further down the line when a program officer communicate or emails you. So we recommend that you apply to the universities now, because if you have at least one unconditional offer, that's great. You know that if you meet all of Chevening's requirements, then you are coming to the UK. However, if you wait until you find out whether you have been given a Chevening scholarship, and then you, for any reason, do not get any unconditional offer, your Chevening scholarship will be withdrawn. So there's no, even if you apply to a 4th and 5th university choice, you cannot go to that 4th or 5th choice. You have to go to one of the 3 choices that you put in your application form. So apply now and apply directly to the university. We cannot receive applications because it's not Chevening's role. Please apply directly to the university.
And I guess just to add to that, the most important thing is to check all your deadlines. The Chevening deadline for applications is the 5th of November. You want to get your application in before then. Every UK university will have a different deadline for their applications. So check all of your deadlines, yeah? If you're applying and they need your application in before the 15th of January, make sure it's in before the 15th of January. The Chevening deadline is the 5th of November. Great, I can't believe that was the last question. The time has flown.
So thank you so much for all of of the questions that are coming in. As I say, the team behind the scenes will continue to answer some of the questions. If you cannot find the information on the website, please just write the question on the comment section. So just to have some final thoughts, Catherine, if you could answer the following. It's your turn now. What will make an application stand out?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I would say the good applications are ones that are really, really thought out. A good application has considered the 4 Chevening eligibility criteria, so familiarise yourself with the criteria, and is giving real examples of your achievements and what you've done to date that demonstrate how you express those criteria. So the application wants to see some real concrete examples of what you've done and what you've achieved so far that makes you kind of a Chevening scholar. And also, a good application isn't submitted in a rush 20 minutes before the deadline. A good application, you know, they will have started now, they'll be working on the essay questions, they'll be drafting and redrafting and redrafting and making sure that they've got really, really clear, concise answers. So yeah, my recommendations would be familiarise yourself with the criteria, think of real examples of things you've done and achieved that match you to those criteria, and be organised and don't leave it to the last minute to submit your application.
And just a final thought on why Chevening is such a great opportunity. So, as we said before, your Chevening is an opportunity to come and study in the UK for a year. It's a scholarship scheme looking for future global leaders, and you'd be part of a network of 50,000 alumni. So even in this country, at the moment, there's 1,700 that are going to be in the next cohort for 2019-2020. And you have, I always say to my scholars, have a world map and pin all your new friends for wherever they are in the world, because you will have a massive network of contacts and friends and just useful knowledge for the future. So I think that
goes
it. Apply.
We look forward to seeing you in London at the next orientation day in 2020. You can do it.
Good luck.